Call the school board meeting to order. George, can you take roll?
Sure. Colonel Evans?
Here.
Mr. Grozan?
Mr. Grozan?
Here.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Here.
Mr. Miko?
Here.
Mr. Naso?
Here.
All present.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. That brings us to the part of the meeting where we discuss our district goals. We do it every single meeting. I know it seems redundant and boring to some people, but it's what we do. And that's what we're called, a board. So our district goals, first one, student achievement. We're moving along on our 2020 plan. Our state grades are up. We're in the top 8% of schools. We're doing a great job with there. We got improvement to do. We're going to keep working at it. Financial prudence. We're working on a lot of different things there as well. So we're, as we made cuts a couple of weeks ago, we're doing other things. We're working hard to balance the taxpayer dollars against maximizing education. And then the final goal is community engagement. And we've had some great meetings lately with some of our community volunteers, and we're going to keep working on that. And one of the biggest things they're doing is they're going to help us get the word out on this levy. So we're going to utilize them to help us move this thing forward. From there, public comment. We do have a public comment. Andy Hartman, I want to go up and state your name and address, and then tell us some good news.
Sure. My name is Andy Hartman. My address is 12300 Cooper's Run. I'm the president of the Strongsville Instrumental Music Boosters. I'd like to share with the board some information about some instrumental music accomplishments in Strongsville this year. On February 9th, the OMEA District 4 High School Solo and Ensemble Contest was held at North Ridgeville High School. This event features individual performers and small ensembles. Band and orchestra students pick from a list of approved pieces depending on the class or difficulty they wish to enter. Strongsville had the largest contingent of performances with 116 individual and group submissions. The majority of entrants received a superior or an excellent rating, which are the two highest ratings possible. On March 1st, the OMEA District 4 Large Group State Orchestra Contest was held at Strongsville High School. Participating ensembles performed 3 prepared songs for 3 judges. They also sight read 1 piece for a 4th judge that none of them, including the director, knows in advance. They have 8 minutes to go over that piece without making a single sound on their instruments before playing it for the first time. Strongsville had 3 groups participate: string orchestra, chamber strings, and symphony orchestra. All 3 groups received superior ratings, the highest available. It's also worth noting that last year, OMEA introduced a more difficult division, AA, and Strongsville was the only school to enter that division last year, and they received a superior rating. This year, including Strongsville, there were more than 10 entrants in class AA. So again, Strongsville is leading the way. On March 2nd, the Greater Cleveland Middle School Solo and Ensemble Contest was held at Strongsville Middle School. Like the high school event, it features soloists and small groups. Participating Strongsville students received 35 superior and 9 excellent ratings. If that's not enough, the contest season still isn't over. On Friday, March 15th, the Strongsville High School Symphonic Band and Wind Ensemble head to Westlake High School to participate in the OMEA Large Group District Band Contest. Symphonic Band plays at 5:30, and the Wind Ensemble plays at 8:15. So if you guys are going to go, get there early, because once the doors shut, they won't let you in. Like the orchestra contest earlier this month, each band will play 3 prepared pieces and a sight reading piece. In early May, the OMEA Large Group Middle School Contest will be held at Strongsville Middle School, and the 7th and 8th grade bands are participating in that. So congratulations to all the high school and middle school students who participated in solo and ensemble. At an age where being judged is a daily and rarely pleasant experience, it's amazing to me that these young musicians are courageous enough to ask to be judged. Congratulations to Mr. Heyer and the orchestras for another exceptional contest season, and good luck to Mr. King and the high school bands next Friday And good luck to Mr. Chidsey, Mrs. Strong, Mrs. Robley, and the middle school bands on their upcoming contest in May. Thank you.
Hey, Andy, what was the date of the middle school contest that's at Strongsville?
It's in early May. It's going to be, I want to say it's the 9th and 10th, but I'm not sure of the date yet.
Okay, but early
They-
May. Okay,
yeah, early May.
We'll look for it.
Yep.
Thank you very much. It's a great update. Thank you. With that, the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Naso. Each month, as our work session, we have a variety of topics that we like to talk about. For March, it is an update on athletics. So we thought it'd be a great time for our new athletic director to come, Denny Ziegler, to come share, not only introduce himself to the community, he's been here for a few months, but also give an update as to where we're at with athletics and where we're going under his leadership. So Denny.
Alrighty, thank you, Mr. Ryba. Thank you to the school board for allowing me the opportunity to come here to speak on the athletic portion. Lots of things happening. I know that I've only been here for a short, couple months here, but there's a lot of good things that we're doing. On Tuesday of this past week, we brought back the Meet the Mustangs. I call it more of a parent and student athlete orientation, where I kind of introduced to all of the parents and the student athletes about the expectations of the athletic department, what the parents can expect from coaches and the leadership team at the high school, as well as kind of what the expectation are of the parents in the athletic program and the support that we need from them in order to get the culture that we want. So this is something that I shared on Tuesday as well as with the coaches. This is what I call the MVP process. This is kind of it's what our mission is, it is what our vision is, and it's what we're striving for. It also has our core values. So as you can see, we're training to be a Mustang. And I sent something to the coaches a while back and I said, can you tell me what it means to be, a Strongsville Mustang? And I got 40 different answers. So I took those answers and I kind of compiled them into different categories. And you can see under the core principles, those are kind of our themes or our core values. So every single core value relates to a day of the week. So the object is every coach is supposed to talk about that theme every day. And we even define it for them as far as what that value looks like in the sport that they're playing, in the school, in the community, as well as, in their strength and conditioning. And as I took this a step further, I said, we want to be the model program for all school districts to model. So are we there yet? Absolutely not. But we want to do things the right way, and we want to be a great character and a great role model school for other districts to come in and say, hey, Strongsville, what are you guys doing, that is making your program so successful? Okay, and this is something that I stand by. So the core values relate to every day. Okay, so like today would be Toughness Thursday. Okay, and we define exactly what that looks like in the sport. Okay, and the object is, as I stated, I want the coaches to ask their team every day, okay, how are you going to be tough today during practice? And I want the students to really reflect and think about, okay, if I need to be an elite student athlete, if I want the elite culture that we're trying to build, I need to be mentally as well as physically tough. So here are the steps that I'm taking, okay, during practice today. And it changes the mindset of focusing not only, I don't want the teams, I don't want the coaches, I don't want the athletes focusing solely on the results. I want them focusing more on the details. So how are we conducting ourselves during a practice? How are we, handling the attitude? How is our effort during practice? All those detail stuff is going to get us to the wins that we want. Then, of course, there's an MVP process for the parents, okay? And this is something that I shared on Tuesday with the parents, and they have their own themes as well. The one thing that I always make notice to the parents is in home. If we want to teach student athletes accountability, let your son or daughter wash their own uniforms or wash their own practice gear. Okay, if they want to go to practice the next day with smelly, dirty clothes, that's on them. It's not on you as a parent. If we want to start to hold people accountable for their actions, this is one way that the parents can do it at home. Okay, and the other thing that is a huge piece of this is we work with the ERO system, where there's events that happen in our everyday life, and we don't control those. Okay, if you're late for you know, if there's a traffic accident, if there's traffic light stop signs, those are things that we can control, okay? The result of that event is your outcome. So if there's a traffic accident, if there's a red light, okay, the outcome is you might be late to work or school, okay? So we don't control those two things. The only thing that we control is how we respond to that. So when we talk about the ERO process, it's more of not only the ERO, but we don't want to blame anybody. We're never going to blame a coach. We're never going to blame circumstances. We're never going to blame a situation. We're never going to complain about this, okay? And we're not going to get defensive. We have to be coachable, and we need parents to act the same way for the culture that we want to build. My Mustang success pillars. These are things that I feel are going to drive us to the success that we want, okay? And it starts with leadership, okay? That's the top of the pyramid. And the leadership that I kind of talk about is this performance pathway. And the performance pathway states that leadership is built to do two things. It is built, leadership should build trust, and it should get results, okay? And that leadership is going to drive the behavior that we want, okay? And that behavior is being coachable. That behavior is not having BCD, okay? That behavior is having good sportsmanship and good character skills. That behavior is going to lead to the culture that we want, and that culture is going to produce the results. If we reverse engineer this and say, if we want better results, we have to have a better culture. The better culture is going to lead to better behavior, okay? And that's going to lead to better leadership. Okay, so that's kind of what we worked on. Then the leadership, I will be starting this summer a leadership training for all student athletes that are interested. And it's not just going to be leadership, but it's going to focus more on the mental aspect of playing sports. And what does that look like? How do we train student athletes to be more mentally tough? And there's a lot of different strategies that will teach those student athletes as well as coaches to be able to become better leaders. Participation is a huge piece of having success. I'll show you a slide here in just a little bit where we were, I believe, in 2010 to where we're at now with our participation numbers as a whole and kind of the decline. I'm a big proponent of having multi-sport student athletes. And to drive that multi-sports, we need participation at all levels. Youth level, middle school level, okay, and the high school level. So some of the things that we're going to be striving for is participation in multi-sports. And then there's the competitive success pillar. If we want to be successful, then we have to do things competitively with like schools, other conference schools, and try to find what our niche is and try to find some things that other school districts are not doing to make us successful. And there's a lot of different things that we are going to be working on to get that competitive success. Engagement is a huge piece. One of the things that I always stress to coaches and to programs is that the community gives us so much that we need to start giving back to the community more. So one of the goals of mine is to have a board up that is going to stress hours, community service hours per each team. And I want to have an internal competition with programs as far as community service hours, attendance rates in school, GPA, all those things are measurable, and that's what's going to get us to the community engagement piece. And then satisfaction. I'm always looking for feedback from community, parents, leadership team on how we can get better and how we can grow for the programs. Leadership, I always stress the kind of quote there that it is a lifestyle, it's not an event. So if we want to excel in everything that we're doing, it's a lifestyle that we have to take. And one of my conversations on Tuesday with the parents kind of chuckled at was, if you want to start being an elite athlete, make your bed every morning, okay? Because the minute that you start making your bed, it leads to one task, which leads to another, and it slowly builds confidence. And even if you're having a bad day, at least you come home to a nicely made bed. Some leadership strategies that we'll be implementing. The leadership program that I talked about for the summer, we are focusing on the 12 pillars of peak performance. There's a great gentleman by the name of Brian Kane who works with collegiate teams across the country. And he has these 12 pillars of peak performance, which every program that he has worked with, those teams have been to the highest possible competition level. So different strategies that he has taught me is things that I like to bring to the student athletes. One of the things that I mentioned to the athletes as well as the parents on Tuesday was I'm a big component of making the high school athletic department more of a college atmosphere. And I say that because there's a lot of athletes that won't ever get to play college sports, but if we can do things to provide the best possible experience for them, that's what my goal is. So a lot of the things that we are going to be doing are going to be college level things that are going to be scaled down to the high school level. We did implement monthly coaches meetings. We're going to look at doing coach self-evaluations to kind of see if things that I'm seeing are matching up with what they're seeing, okay? And just kind of for coaches to be able to self-evaluate their skills, themselves, and again, another tool to hold them accountable for things that we want. I do have a blog on the athletic website, which I post different videos, different topics, different stories to kind of motivate student athletes, to motivate coaches. The last one down here is a reading program. I am in the works with potentially starting a reading program next fall where athletes will go on Fridays to different elementary schools to read to those kids. It's a great way for us to connect with the youth programs, and it's a great way for our athletes to serve as, you know, as some big role models to those youth kids. Participation, I kind of put this up here. This is just participation over the last couple years. I don't have every single year, so there's some gaps here, and you'll see in 2015, 2016, they did not track athletes per sport. They just had the total for fall, winter, and spring. So that's why those numbers are a little bit higher, you see. But the thing is, at the bottom, okay, you can see in 2009, 2010, we were 939 students, and now, right now, this year, we are at 829. So, all right, the course of 8-9 years, we've dropped over 110 kids from sports, okay? And what that reason is, I don't know. I'll try to figure it out. But there's a lot of athletes that are specialization now. They're only playing one sport, which has dropped the numbers. A big key to this is informing parents about what the specialization does. And a big piece of that for me on Tuesday was if your son or your daughter plays one sport, they are 70 to 93% more likely to get injured. And that's a study of over 35,000 athletes that was done by a doctor who monitored one student athlete that just played one sport versus athletes that did multiple sports. And they were 70 to 93% more likely to get injured just by playing one sport because they're not using the same muscles and they get quickly burned out as well. So part of my piece is if we want to get those participation numbers up, we need more multi-student athletes. Competitive success, some highlights from the winter. Our girls swim was it should have been GCC champs. 3 relays as well as state qualifiers. We did have 2 divers that made it to district as well. And one was actually Maggie Micko, who was a first-year diver as a sophomore, and she finished 8th. So good things, you know, in the future for them. There were 4 district qualifiers for wrestling. We did have a sectional champ in David Greco. He also, at that sectional championship, tied the school record for most pins. So that was good. Did have a district qualifier for the gymnastics. Probably would have qualified the whole team if we didn't have so many injuries. We had 3 girls that got injured literally right before the conference meet and had to miss the whole tournament season. 4 all-conference honors in hockey, 2 all-conference honors in basketball, and then culture, okay? We started establishing a culture where we can create confidence as well as mental toughness in the athletes and the coaches. Satisfaction, kind of talked about getting some feedback, kind of looking at developing some new coach and some youth program surveys to find out what are we missing. Okay, what are we missing between the high school and the youth programs or the middle school that can help bring those participation numbers back up. If kids are leaving sports or they're not doing multiple sports, why? Okay, there's some kind of connection that we need to find as to why kids are not participating like they should be. And then lots of programs to help coaches as well as student athletes with their professional development opportunities. And then lastly, just some community engagement pieces that we're doing. We are revamping some sponsorship opportunities. I will be working with Dan Faust and Scott Benson, hopefully, to start up a weekly TV show where we want to highlight athletes, band members, teachers, about things that are going on in the district. My goal is to then evolve that where we can potentially maybe shoot those videos from some different locations in the community to really bring about awareness about the athletic programs, kind of like a sports show. We started up a Superfan app, which serves as like a frequent flyer program. So the more events that you go to, you can gain points, and then you can train those points in for different spiritware. I will be working with some local businesses to get them on the app as well. So if you were to log in from a local business, you can not only accumulate points, but those businesses is more apt to give you discounts for going there. And it's a way for us to get some businesses supporting us, but also for us to give back to the community that way. We will be starting live stats, this spring. So if you can't make it to a game, there will be a thing that we plug into the back of the scoreboards that will produce live stats on our game or on our website. So people can monitor home games from live stats. With that, we are working on doing live stream. And part of that live stream program would be that the National Federation for High School runs a live stream process where if you want to watch the game live stream, you have to pay a fee, and then we get a portion of all fees that are submitted through the NFHS. So that's a way for us to generate some revenue as well from the live stream option. If you have not seen, we are marketing a lot more student athletes, programs, and teams. There is a thing that is now tied to our website. I call it a thing. I don't even know what to call it. But it's more of like a Photoshop option where we can highlight particular students, teams, and we can create artwork to kind of market the programs more. We can create scheduling through there. So lots of different things that we can build through that program. We do have a new calendar that will help us facilitate facilities. For those of you that don't know, in the past there were Google calendars, and there were multiple Google calendars that didn't really talk to each other. So this process now streams all of the calendars into one facility calendar, which really helps us for scheduling different gyms, classrooms, buildings, things like that. Alumni Nations, that's a new program that we'll be starting. It's geared for us to attract alumni. A big piece of athletics is alumni involvement. And from my short time here, I can tell alumni is kind of scattered. So this Alumni Nations is geared towards bringing back alumni into the programs, and not only the athletic realm, but the district as a whole. So that is something that I'm really, really amped for, is because it's going to allow us to connect with a bunch of alumni, and through that process, alumni can set up internships for our students. They can come in for guest speaking opportunities. There's a lot of positives that come about with that software. Booster Club fundraisers, and then next fall, we will be starting up a Student Athlete of the Month program. Are there any questions? Yes.
I've got a couple comments.
Sure.
Great work, right
Thank
off
you.
the bat. Your leadership program, what ages is that going to be? Are you going to include 8th graders? Or are you going to include just 9 through 12? You tell me.
Sure. So the goal of it is anyone 7th on up. My goal is I want younger student athletes, and I say younger because those are the kids that will be in the programs for 3, 4, 5 years. I'm okay having seniors, but if they're 1 year, that's all they get, and then there's nothing that's left for the rest of the program. So I really gear towards 7th, 8th, freshmen, sophomores, and I ask coaches, give me people who you think are going to be good leaders, or that could be good leaders.
So you'll
But
see,
I'll take anybody.
you'll see my son there.
Okay, awesome.
I agree with you on multi-sport athletes. In today's day and age, too many kids specialize, you know, at 6th grade, 7th grade, hey, you're just going to be a hockey player. You're just going to be this. And to balance out your body, balance out everything else, being a multi-sport athlete is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing.
Sure. Yep.
And my last comment, Coach Church does a phenomenal job with the girls program. My daughter, and I've made this comment 1,000 times, since she was 5 years old, all she wants to do is play for Coach Church. Through this board and through your actions and through the actions of other athletic people within this district, Hockey Now has a program where they have shared ice. So anybody who wears or lives in Strongsville can go to those events. Boys soccer program is doing a great job. I had a conversation with the baseball coach. We're going to probably be using their field for a little bit. It's about grabbing the kids at 5, 6, 7, and 8 and creating Mustangs out of them and breeding them to go all the way through. So I'm really encouraged with everything that you just shown. So
Thank you.
great job.
Thank you.
I was going to say, Danny, that's, the stuff you outlined is music to all of our ears, I think, and we're glad to see that. Of course, the proof is in the pudding. You know, it's not easy to put slides together, but then
Sure.
it's even harder to get everybody to comply and go along with that. So I'm sure you'll get the support from Mr. Ryba, Dr. Ryba, and Mr. Smithberger, Dr. Smithberger. And,
Doctor.
yeah, and that's good. One thing I was going to say is, you know, in your multi-sport slide there, it may be, I don't know if it was normalized for the reduction in enrollment that we experienced from 2010 to now, which may account for some of the
Sure.
decrease in athletes. But I agree with what George said. You know, it's good to have kids involved with all the sports, so long as it doesn't hurt their academics as well.
Absolutely.
And sometimes we see that with kids who are so focused on their sports performance that the academics might slip. So I was glad to see that you had GPA in there and, you know, making sure that if they need help, they get tutoring, those kind of things. And to realize that we want the well-rounded person coming out of Strongsville, not just an athlete, but somebody who's strong in all of the things, the academics, arts, and athletics when they graduate. Good job. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Good job, Denny. I knew when you were coming on that we picked the right guy. So the culture is what we need to do. We need to build consistency between these programs. So whatever team you're on, you're getting a similar experience, right? That's important. And the coaches are held accountable to make sure that they're delivering the same experience, right? And if they're not up to the task, then we find other coaches who are up to the task, right? So that's a little warning to those underachievers that they need to pick it up. So that's an excellent thing. On your list, I love all the things. I would tell you, you've got a lot on that list. Make sure you complete them. You know what I mean? Not everything, but just start knocking things out, right? So you can get them done. And if you need help from us or anything from us, let us know. But we're really excited about it. And to your point on the academic side, you know, I just learned the other day that Coach Serino, the football coach, he actually has a ACT course that his kids are sitting in, and on after school from like 3 to 4:30, they're getting help with their ACT scores. So they paid for a tutor to come in, and he's teaching them. So that's really cool to get that where it needs to be. It's part of the fundraising they do, and they're paying for it themselves. And that's really cool. So thank you for everything you're doing, and just keep doing it. And we'll bring you back in a little while, and we'll check your list and see how it goes.
Thank you.
Hey, Danny.
Yes.
Welcome, and again, thank you for taking such a strong position. I appreciate that you brought back Meet the Mustangs. As a former Mustang and having had a child that was at the Meet the Mustangs, it was disappointing when that was kind of taken away. So thank you for doing that. My question would be, how are you incorporating our booster club? Because we have such a strong booster organization.
Sure.
And how are they melding with this
Sure.
program that you've outlined?
Yeah, so, the Booster Club's been, fantastic. In fact, I just met with Dan Martin yesterday on some other pieces of it. They are very, very supportive in things that we want to do. We are trying as a booster group to kind of, centralize a couple things. So try to get the sponsorship and some of those things evolved under one roof now. We're also working to find new ways to market different booster events and to draw more people into the boosters. We are working with trying to get the Hall of Fame under the booster umbrella. That's a huge piece. And I know that there's been some different people that have left the Hall of Fame committee, so now trying to get that all kind of under one roof has been fantastic. And then I think we are going to be working on a huge fundraising project with the boosters through a software on their booster website, which is really going to help. And then lastly, I would hope that the boosters would help with this Alumni Nations project to really bring in all these alumni that are out there that we're missing, to try to bring them into the different groups.
Okay, great. Well, I know the class of '79 had a really strong basketball program, so, and this is their 40th reunion this year, so you could maybe reach out to some of them.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you,
you.
Dan.
Excellent presentation.
We do have one other item under curriculum, an overnight trip for the boys lacrosse team. Be resolved upon the my recommendation that permission be granted to the Strongsville High School boys lacrosse team to travel to Sandusky, Ohio to participate in preseason scrimmage play March 8th to 9th. Transportation will be via school bus and expenses will be paid by participating students, and this does require a vote.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, George.
Second.
Oh, it's Lent, isn't it?
Lent,
Excellent.
Lent has begun.
There
Lent
we
has
go.
begun. Excellent,
So-
thank you. Any discussion?
I will just share for the uninitiated, a number of years ago, I had a constituent, I normally don't second, but I had a constituent tell me, "Dad, it's awesome, you should try it." So during Lent, I give up not seconding.
And that was one of his children, just so everybody knows.
I did say dad.
All right, take roll.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Excellent.
And that concludes my report.
All right. That brings us to Board of Education Other.
PTA meeting today. There is March 15th is St. Patty's Day Rockin' at the Rec. And then on April 26th is going to be the DARE celebration. And I also want to give a shout out to Jordan Homoki. She qualified for the state meet, and she was 7th in the breaststroke and 11th in the butterfly. And if anybody has ever tried the butterfly, good luck, because I sink very quickly. She is an amazing sophomore who did an amazing job, and she works her butt off. And she's just, what a great athlete, but also a great person. So congratulations to Jordan.
Duke?
Yeah, I'd just like to say to anybody that's out there watching, if you're that dedicated to watch these meetings, thank you very much, and please talk to your friends and neighbors about the need for our levy in May. We need to get that passed so that we don't have to go forward with additional cuts and keep our schools as good as they are, as Mr. Ziegler outlined, and as we've seen in the sports and athletics and arts achievements, as Andy talked about the orchestra and band students. We want to keep it that good. So please help us. Please get the word out and support the levy in May. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a heads up that if you love your sports programs, if you love your music programs, if you love your academic programs, if you love your teachers, if you love the district, we're having a walk on Saturday for fun. So you can show up at the middle school around noon. We'll tell you how the walk's going to go. We'll walk sheets, we'll give you flyers, we'll give you instructions, and then from 1 to 3, you can head out and knock on some doors and tell people how much you know, how much you need your student, your child, to be protected and be provided an outstanding education. So we'll meet at the middle school at noon. Anybody who wants to join us, we'd love to see a big crowd there. I think we're gonna have a big crowd. I'm excited about it, so, we'll see you then. Jane, Richard?
Yes, if any of you have high school seniors, it is getting time for the awarding of local scholarships. So all the applications should be in the high school guidance department. So last year, I know there were some scholarships that went unawarded because not enough students applied. So please investigate all this opportunity. There's so many groups and organizations in our community that are wanting to contribute to your child's education. So,
And where do you pick those up?
at the high school guidance counselor's
Guidance.
office, yep.
Okay. Do you know, Richard? No, we're good? Okay, we have no need for executive session. You sure? You don't?
I'm sure.
Okay. With that, brings us to adjournment. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, George.
Second.
Thank you, Richard. Motion by George, second by Richard. Any discussion about adjournment? No? Take roll.
Mr. Grozan,
Yes.
Mr. Miko,
Yes.
Mr. Naso,
Yes.
Mr. Lovins,
Yes.
Mrs. Lowood.
Yes.
Meeting adjourned at 7:36 PM.